Steven, I'm curious. You guys are often just described as like alt pop, sort of as a band. How do you guys describe Don't Believe in Ghosts?
Just music, like whatever we're feeling like creating at the time. I think it's one of those ways for it to make it easier for people to digest what it is that you're going to do. So getting that like alternative indie or whatever, it just kind of, can start to get you into an area. But really, like with what we're doing, it's whatever we're feeling at the time. Ultimately, it's going to be there's some level of positivity to it or some level of like hoping to inspire involved in what we're doing. And really that's it, just making it colorful and we want it to feel good and connect. That's it.
Yeah, I think we kind of dip into different things. Some
Yes.
things, it's like a little bit of like a spectrum. Like we go onto the very poppy side of things at times, and then other times we dip into like the rock pool a little bit more. And I kind of like the mishmash of all of it. I usually like to be somewhere in the middle, but I think we try not to restrict ourselves when it comes to writing to any one of those things.
Dan, who are some of the artists then that influenced you when you were growing up?
Well, I looked to a lot of the like guitar virtuosos when I was growing up, learning guitar. But in terms of bands and things like that, I mean, the Beatles was the first band that I ever listened to that my mom got me into that got me into music. But then it kind of evolved from there into other alternative bands like the Killers and Coldplay, 30 Seconds to Mars, Radiohead, bands like that. Oasis is another one. But I went through a lot of different phases. I also even listened to like old school metal at one point, so I have a little bit of that influence in me too. And any era where they had some great guitar playing, like the '80s, was also great. So I kind of latch on to all that stuff.
What about for you, Steven?
Yeah, I mean, the first piece of music that ever really got me was Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And
Wow.
I was in you know I was a kid. I was in nursery school or whatever, and my teacher put it on, and I remember hearing it and being like, "Wow, that's the first time I heard music that sounded like I felt." You know, where it was like there was like this thing, dun, 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 like this like intensity, and I was like, I feel this. It was like amazing, and I went on this journey. And then from there it was just everything, the same kind of stuff, that all of us in Western culture grew up with. There's nothing unique that I'm gonna list out there that Dan didn't list, all the same stuff we grew up with. But Prince was a big one for me. Jane's Addiction was a big one for me. Oasis was a big one. There's a lot that come along every once in a while where you go, okay, this is special. And those are the ones that, that stick with you.
We recently also mentioned like Michael Jackson was just such a universal thing. Like even just listening to some of the guitar parts that he had in his songs, that's something that we both definitely latch onto. Also, it's
I
hard
mean, I
not
thought I was Michael Jackson at one point, so I don't know.
to. I feel
Didn't
like
we
everybody
all?
wanted to be.
Didn't we
Yeah.
all?
You're not a kid unless you did.
Stephen, Brooklyn Baby is such a beautiful tribute to New York City. I think it's got a little bit of every part of New York to it. And of course, I'm sure you're getting lots of love for it, not just from New Yorkers. What inspired this?
Yeah, the thing that ultimately inspired it was I was thinking about, I'm always thinking about, what would I want to write about, like just constantly writing. And in this, I was thinking about, people like my wife and like a lot of friends that we have here in New York. I grew up here. And so there's so many people that I know and that we know that have come and literally left everything behind and came to New York. Dan's wife too. I mean, like a lot of people that just like leave everything behind and come here. And it's like, to do that and to leave it all behind. And it's a certain kind of person and some that stick with it and go. And it's such an amazing thing. It's such a brave thing. And that's kind of what I wanted to touch on with that. And I wrote the demo for that song and I was like, think I got something. Let me send it around. And I sent it around, to the band. And I sent it to Ken, who produced the song, Ken Lewis. And he's a great friend of mine, and he's done, everything, from Taylor Swift to, just Jay-Z. I mean, on and on. He's done everybody.
Just want to interject before you continue that the original line, I guess, was the main thing was "Run with me through NYC," but that I think originally that was the only thing that was really heavily based around New York City. It was, but that was the main idea, and then going back to when we worked with Ken, he kind of I guess applied it to the whole song and said we should just make this about New York. You can continue. I didn't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off.
no, and then I sent it around to him and he said, this is amazing. Jump on a plane and let's finish this together. So yeah, it was awesome.
What
It
is
was
your
good
typical
stuff.
song? Right. Is there a typical way, Stephen, you do tend to write your songs? Does it need to have that little idea in your head, that earworm that talks to you like Run With Me through NYC, that sort of, and then you craft music around it? Or is there no always way that you write songs?
I think for all of us, I mean, it's always a little bit different, I think the songs that end up standing out the most are the ones that have a little of that something in it, that's something unique about it. There's stuff that, we sit down and we'll write the music first, or we'll do this and do that. But if it doesn't end up getting that, it doesn't have it, it's got to have something to it, that's there. That's part of it. You try and do that, but you don't always, and it's a numbers game. So you write as much as you can. Um, one of the things like, when you're growing up and you're like in bands, you get together with your friends and you write 7 songs and you go, well, that's our songs, and you think that that's the best shit. But like the reality is that once you get to that, now you got to write 30 more songs. You know what I mean? And then decide from there. Otherwise, what is it? You think you wrote the best songs in 7 songs. So that's kind of like the thing with how we do it. And then like, it kind of started like that too. Like initially I was like, I wrote, a song a day for a week at the beginning of this like band thing. And then I was like, well, that's cool. I wonder what it would be like if I was like, I love having this because I have all these songs, but I wonder what it would be like if I did that for 30 days straight. And so I
Right.
did it for 30, and then I was like, wow, that's great. Let me do some more, do some more. And then you go through and then you find things, and so like, for us, we constantly have a lot of songs that we're working on. Dan and I, really do the majority of the writing together, like, coming together and working on stuff. And it's the most fun part of the band is really when we're in the studio working on stuff. That's to me is the best part. I love that. So and having the ideas growing is just everything.
Dan, I have to ask, whose idea was it to add those violins? I think they add so much to the song.
Interestingly enough, it wasn't originally a violin, so the sound,
No,
I don't know.
it's the same sound, Ken. Yeah, it's the same sound. He just added a filter to it.
Right, right. I'm saying like it was the same sound, but then he added some other effects to it that actually just made it sound like strings. It wasn't actually a string part, but I was like, oh, well, I guess whatever he did, he added some concoction of effects to it, and it came out sounding like strings, which
Yeah,
was
that was all there on the demo. That was like the
yeah.
bass.
But what original sound was it? Was it a what sound was it for the keyboard?
It
Can you?
was a sound that I pulled up in Omnisphere and, worked out the melody, and that was it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And I think that like that was like the hook moment. You hear that and you're like, oh, there's something here as that all comes together. So,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was a more like stabby, punchy kind of sound that like clearly wasn't strings, but yeah, when Ken worked his magic on it, it ended up sounding like that. So I thought it was really cool as opposed to just using a string pad or even a string player.
I was gonna say, Steven, in the video, there's like this little jam session that you guys have with someone who is a violinist. Is he playing the song, or is it just the three of you
That's
guys?
a fun story. It was yeah. I'll let you take it though.
Yeah, no, we went out to go film some footage and stuff, and we saw him just playing violin.
In the
So we
street, it
just
was
went.
just a random guy from
Yeah,
Venezuela.
yeah, he's awesome too. And so we just went up to him and asked him if he wanted to play with us. And so, there was definitely a language barrier. We talked through an app, and we got 90% of the way there, I think. And he picked it up pretty good. And then we jammed it right there on the street. It was fun.
Dan, where were some of your favorite scenes to shoot from the video for Brooklyn Baby?
I loved walking on the Brooklyn Bridge. That was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, I mean, just seeing, just walking through New York City at night, seeing all the lights, all that stuff. I mean, it's not like it was my first time being there, but it feel like it never gets old. Just the scenery was fun, and it was a blast. Just being with people who, you enjoy their company, walking around. It was just kind of like it didn't really feel like work. It was just kind of like a hangout.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They were just capturing stuff on film, and it ended up looking good for like the B-roll footage. And yeah, it was a fun time. It was pretty lax. It wasn't. We've had much more strenuous, like hard-working, laboring shoots to do for
Sure.
our other music videos, and this was like a walk in the park compared to those.
I don't even think we knew we were doing a music video, to be honest with you, when we were
Just three
there.
guys hanging out, walking the
Yeah, like we
city.
did a photo shoot and then we were like, we'll get some footage of us performing it. We
A
thought
lot
we
of it
could
was very
chop it up for
spontaneous.
TikToks, you
Yeah,
know?
it wasn't
That
as
was it.
well like planned out. We were like, we'll go in there. Maybe we'll, do some busking. Maybe we'll like play on the street for some people, and then that's how we went. Met the violin player. Maybe we'll do this, but we didn't really go in with a concrete plan. We kind of just saw where the night took us, and got it and captured whatever we could on film.
I think it's a beautiful tribute to New York City. And I have to ask, Stephen, what kind of response have you been receiving to people who are residents there?
Oh, it's awesome. The response so far has been amazing, just and you could feel it like as it comes back. There's a lot of traffic out there. This is like 170,000 songs a day getting put out, and there's a lot of stuff. So this is one of those that like, we really believe in and we're gonna, see all the way through. And just like right now, seeing how many people are listening to it, how many people are saving it, the comments that we're getting and the messages we're getting about it, and the response is just it's awesome. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Dan, is this a prelude to a full EP or an album coming soon?
As of right now, it's just a single, but usually I think what we like to do is release a bunch of singles over the course of several months, and then eventually, I think we take what we feel are the best singles that we've released, and put them together on an LP or EP, and maybe include a couple extra tracks that we hadn't released yet. So. Not 100% sure what the plan is yet, but we have a couple more singles coming out first before we make that decision.
Even with the holidays approaching, do you guys have any upcoming live performances of Brooklyn Baby?
So not until February or March. So we'll be announcing more shows then. We just played last Saturday night at Mercury Lounge in New York City,
Wow.
which was like our first hometown show in a bit, and it was absolutely epic. We had the best night. It was so much fun. So yeah, so it'll be probably, this month as everything kind of cools down. Um, it's going to be about finishing a bunch of songs for next year, like writing a bunch of stuff, taking that opportunity, and then finishing a bunch of music for release for next year.
Dan, what would you all like to say as a band to people who are fans and supporters of the incredible music you all continue to put out?
We just thank you guys. We're so grateful for the support, and just helping us continue doing what we love to do so much. It's not really possible without those people, without the support of them, and the people that listen to us, who are regular listeners, especially on Spotify and all that stuff. We love all the comments. We love all the feedback. I mean, they're a huge part of why we do what we do, because it's just. I mean, obviously, we love music. We love doing it, and we do it for ourselves, no doubt. And it's writing is a reflection of like what we feel and what we like to put out into the world. But I think the most gratifying part is just seeing how it affects other people, and the support that we get from it. And that's to me that's a huge part of why I love doing this.
I mean, you have such beautiful honors behind both of you, those records and 1 million streams. It must mean so much to you as artists that you're getting recognized for the music that you make. Not you're getting paid to do what you love and people are appreciating it.
Well,
Absolutely,
paid is a loose term. I
That's
mean,
that's
but
true. As a
um,
musician, you're
but we
paid.
yeah, but
are
I
we
even
should have
are,
even
said
just
paid.
hearing like from people that like our music got them through a tough time or something like that, and seeing that like there's different countries that are starting to like play our music on radio stations, things like that. Like we just found out that we were playing in South America and Peru and things like places like that. It's just really cool to know that our music's getting out there. The money is a secondary, like if it's like a bonus thing. If the money comes, that's great. If not, it's you can't go into this business, especially now, expecting to make a big chunk of change. I was saying to my friend that it's like wow, you guys got 1 million streams on the album. I said, yeah, if this was the '70s, we would have like a house, from this. But at the same time, the trade off is like, we might not have been able to easily reach that many people either. Like if it was the '70s,
Right.
unless we got lucky and got picked up by a big label or whatever. But just the fact that we're able to reach that many people is awesome, and we'll see where the next year takes us. As long as we keep doing what we're doing, who knows?